Hello everyone, it's me, John Lorden, and I'm back with another episode of BrainScratch. This one is all about the Solway Firth Spaceman. Now, if you don't know about this, this is one of probably the most hotly debated and popular photos in history. It was taken in 1964 by a man named Jim Templeton at a place called the Burgh Marsh, and that's in the UK. Now, what's interesting about this photo, he just went out for the day with his family and wanted to use his new Kodak and some new type of film and take some pictures of his daughter. And he took 3 photos, some reports say in succession, but to me it seems like there was a bit of a time lag there. But he basically took 3 photos with her, 2 of which are public, and for some reason the third one isn't, which is kind of a brain scratch in its own right. I'm not sure why they would make 2 of them public and hide the third. But something interesting popped up in the second photo, the photo in between the 3. So let's take a look at it. And here's his daughter, very cute little girl, sitting out picking some flowers. But here is what all the issue is about. Basically, is that a spaceman? And let me just give a quick shout out to spacemancentral.com. That's where I'm getting this image from, and they had some great facts in their article written up about this. So that's all the noise. You've probably seen this photo before if you've watched any of those YouTube videos about, top 10 mysterious photos and things like that. You're going to see this photo. It comes up time and time again. If you do some searching on the internet, you'll see several, blog posts and some kind of official looking sites that claim that they have absolutely debunked it, and here's why. But once you read into them, they turn out to be little more than just theories. There is nothing in terms of hard evidence that has debunked this. As a matter of fact, back at the time that this photo became popular in the mid-60s, Kodak actually reviewed the negative and came back and said there was no doctoring done to this photo, and if anyone can prove that doctoring was done to this photo, we'll give you a lifetime supply of film. So this news story went viral, and basically the local newspaper picked it up, and then it just ran across the nation, or across the world very quickly. It actually caused his beautiful daughter here to be teased a bit. They had to pull her out of school, and worth noting, Jim Templeton never made any money off this. He didn't charge, speakers' fees to go talk about this or anything. Nothing ever came out of it in terms of financial gain for him. However, a few strange things did happen. About a week after the news went viral, he was contacted by a technician in Australia that was working on a project called the Blue Streak Missile Project. And they were actually doing a test missile launch, and this technician told Jim that he saw 2 of the same figure on the test missile site, and it actually caused them to delay that missile launch. And this happened on the exact same day that this photo was taken, so that was kind of curious. The second thing to happen to Jim was he was contacted by 2 people that said they were government officials, though they would not provide ID. They would only refer to each other with no names. They called each other numbers, and I've seen one occurrence, only one so far on the internet, that says one of them was called 9 and the other one was called 11. Just kind of strange to me. I don't know if I believe that necessarily, just because of all the relevance that 9/11 has in our modern culture. And I read so many different articles about this, and none of the other ones referred to that. I only saw it once, but I'm putting it out there just in case. Supposedly, these 2 agents, 9 and 11, came and visited Jim and asked him to take them to the site where this photo was taken. He went there with them. They said, "Is this where you saw the alien?" He said, "I never saw what's in that picture until after it was developed," and apparently they left him there about 5 miles away from his workplace. So just kind of strange. So I've written down some thoughts here. What could be going on? What is this image about? And the first one that we can consider is just what Jim is saying. It's some kind of spaceman. But I want to ask you to consider the time that this was taken in. This is the mid-60s. This is right before America gets to the moon. We've got people going into space. Russia's already in space. The form and view of a cosmonaut is kind of known to the public now, and everyone's fascinated with this new frontier that we're all going into. So for me, that explanation is also a bit less plausible, just because we have not seen any more photos of this since. It looks to me like this spaceman wanted to be in the picture. He's kind of like, hey, here I am. And I'm sure if he wanted to be in more selfies, that he has much more of an opportunity now, and we haven't seen any of that. The second option is that this photo was faked as some kind of composite, and one of the analyses I read said, yeah, someone says it's a composite, but once again, they're not really able to prove that it is. That kind of goes against some of the other research I read, which said that the negatives were reviewed, and if the negatives were reviewed, you would have had to do the composite and then make fake negatives off of that, and it's a bunch of extra work that just to spoof a picture like this, I don't think Jim would have gone to. However, it's worth noting on one of the articles I read that Jim was kind of known as a bit of a photo prankster, and just a few weeks before this, we're going to jump over to another site here. This is from drdavidclark.co.uk. For example, he told us he had created a faked 5-pound note for the amusement only weeks before this photograph was taken to demonstrate his photographic skills. Another part of the theory around this is potentially he was known by the photo lab that he went to as being a prankster, and maybe someone at the photo lab faked this picture to kind of get him back. Some evidence that might support that is, in many accounts that I read, it seems like the person that gave him his photos back kind of asked about that picture and said, oh, it would have been a great picture unless it wasn't for that big guy ruining it. And that was supposedly Jim's introduction to the fact that there was something in this picture. Just, having played a prank here or there in my life, I know that you like to see the fruits of your labor, and you usually kind of bring that information forward to the person so you can see their reaction. If the lab tech really did it, I'm sure he wouldn't just slip the picture to Jim and not say anything. He might try to, see the reaction on the spot. So that has a little bit of credence just in terms of how the story is told, though I have to say I saw several different phrasings for how this lab technician spoke to Jim. None of them are consistent, and most of the stories I see are saying that the lab technician, or the chemist as he's called, didn't actually do the work himself, that this print was sent to Kodak, they do the developing, and then it comes back. And I know in a lot of photography companies that's kind of what they do. They send their work out and just get it shipped back to them. So a bit of conflict on that one, but as far as I can tell from the research I saw, I don't think this photo was faked. Also, Kodak verified it. Option 3. Jim notes that there was no one else really at the marsh that day except for 2 older women that were sitting in a parked car knitting. And what does kind of occur to me is, if you consider that that's the back of someone, and maybe they had gray hair that was kind of tied back or tied in a bun, it might look like that's actually an older woman that's walking away from the photo. And this is one of the more popular theories, is that it's someone's back, it's someone that's facing the other direction. To round this out, option number 4 is that it's Jim's wife, that it's her back in the photo. And luckily, we do have the first photograph we can take a look at here. Now, unfortunately, his wife, her head is cut out, but you can see she has pretty dark hair. And in a later photo with the 2 of them, you can see that her hair is very dark. I don't think that even with harsh lighting blooming the top of her head, that you would have seen white on this top piece up here, unless she was wearing some kind of small hat, like a small white hat. That's why my gut is kind of telling me this is more of possibly an older lady with silver hair, and I do think the sun could have whited enough of that out at the top that we get that look that kind of looks like there's a visor happening in there. Also, if you take a look at this picture of Jim's wife there, you can see she's wearing a dress that does have a form-fitted top. And if we look back at the Spaceman, one of the things that's unfortunate about this photo is you don't see anything below the waist section, and that does look like it's form-fitted. You can see the sky right in between here. And this shadow is actually calling out to something for me about it being the person's back. If you look at how this shadow is happening and how this arm is bent, it looks like the shadow is actually casting on the person, the round of their back, and that their arm is protruding into the light. There's no shadow on their actual arm, almost like you're doing this. If it was a person that was facing forward, your arm cannot really cock forward that much to catch that much light and have that much of a difference of this shadow. I believe this shadow that's on the body would have extended at least to the armpit and then probably to the bicep a little bit, and that is clearly not happening in this picture. As a matter of fact, taking a good look at it now, one of the things you might notice about his wife's dress is it's sleeveless. It basically stops right here, and there is a very soft line that you can see that kind of goes where that sleeveless dress would be. So maybe it is his wife. Like I said, the only thing that's throwing me off about the wife is the top of the head. If that was the same color as the rest of the hair, I would almost immediately say, oh, that's just his wife. I do think it's also curious that in this photo, why is his wife's head missing from the photo? You know, that would have answered the question very easily. We would see if she's wearing a hat or not. And once again, I'm going to go back to that question at the start of the video, where is picture number 3? And why is that not part of this story? Why is that not in the public domain so we could analyze that? It's definitely a brain scratch, so tell me, what do you think? Do you have any other input, or maybe you've done some research on this story and have some gaps that might help me fill it in? Please drop a comment below, and be sure to subscribe, like the video if you like it, hit that down vote if you didn't like it, because I got to know about those things so I can make these videos better. And I hope you're having an excellent day, and I will catch you on the next Brain Scratch. Take care. Watch out for those spacemen.